Welcome to GospelKorea TV. As a member of the society who supports equality, in recent years I can't stop noticing the increasing tendency to discriminate certain religious perspective and expression of that perspective. The article I'm about to share with you today is titled "The UN LGBT Expert Wants to Punish Religious Opponents" from the website of Center for Family and Human Rights. Now, I'm sure that any reasonable person would agree that the freedom of speech and freedom of expression should be available to all mankind. But if you suppress this freedom for a particular community, whereas you allow and even promote this freedom to others, this is clearly an act of discrimination. It simply isn't fair. Equality means even though we have differences in opinion, we are safe to express our own opinion and are protected to do so in the system of law. Let's take a look at this article together. It was published on 16th of April 2020. I will just give you a quick summary, but if you want to read the full article, I will leave the link in the description for you. The summary goes like this. The issues on LGBT have been discussed for a few decades in the UN, and the pro-LGBT nations, among which Brazil in particular, have been working hard to place sexual orientation and gender identity as a new category of non-discrimination. And finally, in 2016, the UN appointed an independent expert to develop a report on violence against gays to see how serious this discrimination issue was worldwide. And this job was appointed to a Costa Rican whose name is Victor Madrigal-Bolos. Since the appointment, Victor went around the world, gathering information, making statements, but most importantly, pushing the governments to accept sexual orientation and gender identity into non-discrimination law. According to the article, in his 2019 report on gender identity, Victor and his team stated the notion that there is a gender norm from which certain gender identities vary or depart is based on a series of preconceptions that must be challenged if all mankind is to enjoy human rights, which means sex by birth, male and female, is no longer acceptable. And of course, Victor received a lot of criticisms allegedly from pro-life and pro-family NGOs working in the UN headquarters in New York City, and he addressed them as ultra-conservative and ultra-nationalist groups, reclaiming identities at the expense of sexual and gender minorities. Then basically he went on to say that these groups have made an alliance undermining the rights to gender and sexuality, trying to dismantle all the progress he has made so far. And Victor wants the political leaders, influential corporations, and media to punish who disagree with his LGBT agenda. And of course, his opponents are extremely concerned for if sexual orientation and gender identity becomes a new category of non-discrimination law, then you automatically get this frame where if you oppose this category in any way, you are inhumane and harmful to the society. And this is a big problem for religious groups. And surely enough, Victor implored the governments around the world to adopt decisive action when religious authorities, leaders, and agents infringe on the rights of LGBT persons through violence and discrimination, including hate speech. And hate speech includes anyone disagreeing with his agenda and anyone organizing anything against it. That's what the article is about, and we've just come across a very important word, hate speech. Hate speech is one of the controversies in non-discrimination law. It has a very powerful impact on the freedom of speech, and this is what Victor Madrigal proposed to include in the new category of non-discrimination law. And him and the UN have been persuading the governments around the world to accept and approve this law. For those of you who don't quite understand, prohibiting hate speech against LGBT or in fact any other group simply means you cannot say mean things to them by law. I know it sounds nice, but don't be fooled by the appearance because all this is based on subjective feelings. Let me give you a simplified illustration. Let's say I look like a man, but my gender identity is a female. And I was walking down the street. Someone wants to ask me for direction. So he politely comes and asks me, "Sir, could you tell me which way to go?" And as soon as I heard him calling me sir, I was offended and felt that he was discriminating me. And he was calling me sir just to make fun of me. So I report him to the authorities. And now he has to explain himself to the authorities. And if he cannot explain himself adequately, then he will probably be found guilty. Now, at this point, I just want to make it clear that discrimination against race, sex, nationality, religion, or in any cases, discrimination is just unacceptable and is horrible. And so as reverse discrimination, by suppressing the freedom of expression, taking away the voices of those who have different views, is also horrible and it's not acceptable. Taking away the freedom of expression from certain communities while allowing it to other communities is an infringement of basic human rights, and this is called discrimination. This kind of act is unfair and unjust, and sadly, behind such a great name, non-discrimination law, the opposing voices are discriminated. The countries where they have accepted Victor Madrigal's agenda on sexual orientation and gender identity are experiencing suppression of freedom of speech against this matter. It's happening in Europe. It's happening in the States. And if you don't wake up, it will happen in Korea as well. That's it for now. And thank you for watching. God bless you.